champions. Kenny Dalglish has led them to their first title since 1914. Jack Walker has seen his dream come true.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Bola Bola Show podcast. Now, if you just heard it just now, we're going back to the year 1995, in which Blackburn Rovers became the second team as the English Premier League champions. Now, if you all know the English Premier League history, started from 92 until now. Prior to that, it was the first division title. So as we speak today, Blackburn Rovers is one of the few elite teams to actually win the Premier League title. Liverpool hasn't even won it yet. As of we speak right now, Liverpool is still not yet a Premier League champion. So we thought let's revisit back that season, because to me, I think it's one of the most unique season in English Premier League football. It was the post-USA 94 World Cup. So for me, my enthusiasm was because the fact that Tottenham Hotspur, they made quite a few interesting signings, in particularly Jurgen Klinsmann. But our focus today is mainly on Blackburn Rovers. And I'm not alone. As always, I'm joined here by my two best buddies. Firstly, I'm going to introduce you to probably the guy, in my opinion, maybe 95 was a very heartbreaking season for him. But we'll talk about that later. But introducing now, Elvin, Manchester United fan.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, guys. And welcome back again to our podcast. So, as a Manchester United fan, it was indeed a heartbreaking season. And I think we'll dwell into that as we move on later in the show.
Yep. And of course, the star of this particular podcast is the other guy in our Bola Bola Show team, Bala. Because if you all know, he is a Blackburn Rovers fan. So definitely 95 was a very, very important year for him. So, hi, Bala.
Hi, Sivan. It's not only important year, I think it's the most important year as being a football fan, because that was officially one of the trophies that I saw a team winning. Arte e Labore, the title of the Blackburn Rovers, the symbol.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it means? It means by art and by labor. So,
wow.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of people are keen to know exactly why you choose to support Blackburn. Because, in English Premier League at that time, I believe, of course, Man United was the biggest club. And then you have Arsenal, you have Liverpool. I mean, it could have happened. But why particularly Blackburn?
Because when I was I remember that I was in Form 2, I think, Form 3. So I think there's a lot of big teams, like, people talking about Liverpool, people talking about Manchester United. Even my father was a MU fan. So what I'm trying to say is basically, so I just too much bored with this Manchester United kind of influence. So it just coincided. I remember watching in Star Paper, and I saw this thing, Blackburn. I like first continuing with their symbol, their badge, their logo, with the roses. And then after that, it gave me kind of like have a very kind of genuine kind of team. Then I don't even remember at the time what division they were or what. Then I started following them. Then I think the season that Jack Walker, I got to know Jack Walker, brought over the club. He made the club strong, and etc. Then I think the first season they was after Premier ended up second to MU by 8 points, and that's when my love started with them, interested more and more.
Okay. Now, you mentioned Jack Walker. I think in many aspects of what Blackburn Rovers achieved that season, I think the most important is Jack Walker's arrival to the club. You may want to share with us a little bit on that background, especially with regards to Jack Walker's arrival.
I would say, okay, we have seen Roman Abramovich, right? We have seen who else? All this recently with Liverpool bought over by big names or big companies, even Italians, even I would say even go to Roma. But I think what beauty about Jack Walker is he was a fan. He was a fan, like all of us. Imagine we have, like you, Steven, you're a fan of Huddersfield. Imagine buying over Huddersfield. What kind of passion you show? Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to say is, Jack Walker genuinely wanted a success for the club. The club is supported as a boyhood. And typically, like compared to other, even I would say in many ways he's the last kind of owner we had, because currently any club whoever buying, I don't feel they're buying for the sake of the club. Either they're buying to make money or to promote their company, or even the kind of thing. So the passion, the enthusiasm, I think he's one of the best. I think in fact, whatever he earned from his business, he pumped into the club. And I would say his success, his biggest success, even though he never won any Champions League or they even continue the success.
Okay, all right. And I think it's fair to say that Jack Walker's arrival did change a lot in respect of Blackburn Rovers because, as I'm reading somewhere here, apparently when Howard Kendall was the manager in 1979, he was asked to reduce the amount of milk used in the players' tea. So it's a huge
Yeah.
difference between what Blackburn Rovers was then and after Jack Walker. In particularly with he brought Kenny Dalglish. I mean, how important is that?
I think Danny Douglas, he brought him out of retirement.
Okay.
Let me remind you of that. So that shows basically he had a vision of the club to start with the coach. He never came in, maintained the coach, and he did bought players. He never did that. He first changed the coach. But before that, he donated a lot of things. After he bought over, he did a lot of involvement in Ewood Park. He did quite an outstanding job in building the stadium again. So he had a vision. I think even currently, I think, the thought, he really took the team as a business and with a passion in it. So it's very interesting. And of course, when Kenny Dalglish came in, he started to buy the players according to what suited. Like even Roman Abramovich, when he bought over Chelsea, he still used for Claudio Ranieri. Sorry, Mark Hughes, I think. Sorry, he was Mark Hughes. So not much changes in the team. He just, Claudio Ranieri, yes. So from there, he bought the players, then he sacked the coach. He never did that. He reversed it. He bought the coach, then he bought the players to suit the system.
Okay. All right, Elvin, the fact that Bala mentioned about Roman Abramovich, do you think that Jack Walker should be considered the Roman Abramovich of his era?
Yeah, I mean, at that time, you could probably say so because this Jack Walker guy is one of the top 30 richest guys in Britain at that time, and he owned Walker Steel, which is one of the British largest steel producer. Also owned an airline. So actually during that time in the like what in fact Bala was mentioning earlier also, those rich guys coming and buying clubs, like for example these Arab guys or Roman Abramovich, or even now we even see like Chinese businessmen, Thai businessmen, and all this doing it more for money rather than passion. So this Jack Walker time, I think maybe we can safely say he was the version 1 of this Roman Abramovich kind of thing, like real hardcore rich guy buying a football club. But unlike Roman Abramovich, I honestly I don't know what is Roman Abramovich history with Chelsea, and how passionate he was about Chelsea. But when he decided to buy Chelsea, of course that was his decision. But Jack Walker is a different guy altogether, and it's because he's a big fan of the club, you see.
Yeah.
And not many rich businessmen have opportunities like that to actually own the club they really love and support. So yeah, so probably that's where I believe Jack Walker is.
Don't forget, Sivan, I think once again I'll keep repeating this because practically what he did was his first move when he bought over the club, he invested in the stadium and expanded the capacity of the stadium itself. I think, if I'm not mistaken, at the time it was around like 30,000 people capacity, and I think he spent about 20 million pounds, I think, at that time. So as I say, he never came in with a big bang or anything like that. He really made them strategy to bring this club to where which he thought he can bring them.
Well, today it's hats off to Manchester United again. And the Charity Shield stays amongst the silverware at Old Trafford.
Okay, now we're back to our next segment. And as you just heard just now, that is the sound of Man United kicking off the season 94-95 with another trophy in the cabinet. As you all know that they've won the double in the previous season, and they also won the first Premier League title. So, the era of Sir Alex Ferguson was really going on a roll, and with another Charity Shield in the trophy cabinet, one may wonder, when is this going to come to an end? How long can they go? But let me ask you a simple question, Elvin. As defending champion, are you confident enough that United had the team to compete 3 consecutive Premier League titles in a row?
Yeah. So certainly, of course, at that point of time, having won already two titles, the third title seemed very likely, and that is always an expectation, right? As a Manchester United fan, going into
Yes.
this new season, having won already two, and at the same time also just won the Charity Shield as well. So it's a great start to the season,
Yeah, yeah.
right? As a MU fan. So definitely, if you can ask any MU fan at the start of the season, yeah, uh, everybody thought that was everybody would have thought that the Charity Shield was going to be one of the many titles that we're going to win that season.
Okay.
Well, sadly, guys, that turned out to be the only title they won that season.
Mhm. But of course, in your case,
Right?
Bala, I mean, Blackburn finished second in the previous season, 8 points behind. Do you feel that, especially with the signing of Chris Sutton, they've done enough to sort of like close that gap or even overtake Man United for that matter?
Like what I said earlier, I think Manchester United had, despite whatever said and done, is still MU, Manchester United. And of course, they ended up second place in the first season, and that gave us a boost. That gave us a confidence. But to go against head on with such an established team, especially with sorry, that time was Sir Alex Ferguson was helping his team. So it was kind of a tough. But even though then, as a fan, I would hope they can go better this year. And which they actually did it, surprisingly. To be frank, I was surprised, especially towards the end of the season. They pushed the title, despite MU coming very close, but they were able to win it. And also, talking about Chris Sutton, I think Chris Sutton, I would say, is more important player than Alan Shearer itself. Yes. You know why? Because what Shearer did was, he was just a typical all-and-all hot striker. Get the ball across to him, he does the job. Who actually feeds him? And don't forget, Chris Sutton is not a kind of striker who do a kind of a dribbling or get the ball done. If I can compare, I think I'll compare him with Dede Drogba. He get the ball, he fight for the ball. Because he was started off, I think he have experience as defender from Norwich. So he fight for the ball, he get the ball, he pass the ball, and he get and let the other team score. That's why I realized Alan Shearer was top scorer, but without Shearer, the following season without Sutton, Shearer didn't perform well. So what does it say?
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. And we also know for the fact that Chris Sutton had one of the highest assists during that season. But
Yes.
can you explain a little bit on Blackburn Rovers? I mean, what was their starting lineup like? What was their formation like?
Okay, I think it's typical 4-4-2 British style. Whereby I think we started out with what do you call that? Tim Flowers as a goalkeeper. I think he was a safe hand we had because of his experience and also one of the England goalkeeper at that time. And of course, in left back, they used to have Grammy Leesoff, another perfect kind of defender, followed by Jeff Kenna, Irish guy, good right back, safe, good cross. And of course, AC Milan had Franco Baresi. I would say Blackburn had Colin Henry.
Oh, okay.
Right. and then Marshall with it together. I think side by side is Henning Burke. Of course, I think that gives that the defensive team itself. That the defense I think is an unbreakable kind of defense. Even I think this team with the current squad can give fight to any team, even the current squad. Then moving on, we saw Ripley on the right in the midfield. I think another England international. And Jason Wilcox, surprising for an Englishman who plays in the left, and he also a left footer. With Tim Sherwood and also David Betty marshalling in the midfield. And as Tim Sherwood, we have a good captain whereby he's calm, he focused, cool guy, always know what to do next, and always in control. I think I would say he was in a combination between Roy Keane and also Didier Deschamps, because Didier Deschamps is calm. But he also aggressive of, what do you call that, his name, Roy Keane. Up front, of course, without shadow of doubt, Alan Shearer and Chris Sutton. So I think it's typical British team, British format. Wow, British spirit.
Okay. And of course, one of the interesting thing happened that season was David Betty, who that time was considered one of the most promising young English player coming from the English Premier League. He suffered an injury which basically he was out throughout the whole season. And in comes Mark Atkins, who I was very interested to know because he's been in Blackburn Rovers since 1988. We're talking about a guy who's been there before the Jack Walker era and he's been a long servant of the club. I mean, this is an interesting story behind it, right?
Yes, I think Mark Atkins, is one of the founding of the club. And also not forget, he's actually a right back. Mark Atkins was actually a right back. Was transformed into a midfield by Kevin was
Kenny Dalglish.
Coach Kenny Dalglish. Because I think the defense with the David Betty injury, because Team Sherwood, like I would say, more a creative kind of guy. Not to say attacking type, but at least controlling the midfield, deep lying playmaker. So what this guy Mark came is actually with this because as a right back, he's fast, he's can do tackle, he can run fast, he can get defenders, he pull the midfielders. So I think that give a suitable experience of partnership with Team Sherwood as a defensive team. So yeah, Mark Atkins long serving, and he came at the right moment, the right time to save the club. And if I'm not mistaken, that time he was only about 25 years old.
Okay, all right. So with that, and the end of this segment, we will move on to the next.
But Manchester United flexing their muscles and going third in the Premiership, overtaking Blackburn by overturning them at Ewood Park, and becoming the first side to do so here in a league game for more than 13 months. Andy, final thoughts?
It's hard to know what to take out of the game. Blackburn looked so good in the first half, Martin. United had plenty of possession, but the cut and thrust was all Blackburn's. The threat was all Blackburn's. One moment at the end of the first half changed the whole complexion of the game. But for Manchester United, it's a huge result, I think, in league terms. To have gone 10 points behind Newcastle this early would have given them a mountain to climb.
Okay, we are back now in our later segment. And basically, when Blackburn Rovers first met Man United in that season, the match took place in Ewood Park. And it was such an important result for Man United because they came away with a 4-2 win. So Elvin, I mean, with such a win away from Old Trafford, how important it was for Man United?
Oh, you could not mention how important it was. Extremely important, this victory. In fact, to go away to Blackburn and if I'm not mistaken, it was a cold, rainy night as well. You know, typical British climate, rainy, and it was a night game. And but it was a fantastic game. And in fact, the best goal to me in that game was scored by Paul Warhurst. Okay, the opening goal. But what a fantastic goal that was. I think the turning point of that game was when Henning Berg got sent off, and then Cantona converted the penalty after that. Okay, but Blackburn, despite being one man down, Franco Baresi did score the leading goal to make it 2-1. Okay, Colin Henry made. and let Blackburn take the lead. But then in the end, I think that one man shot made the difference, and Man United ran out 4-2 winners. Of course, Kanchelskis ran riot in the second half as well and scored 2 great goals. Mark Hughes with a fantastic chip as well. In fact, the game had everything: great goals, red cards, penalties, just name it. Fantastic game. So as for Man United fan, you couldn't be happier for the result. Yeah.
Now, in case to our fellow listeners out there, you're wondering what on earth is Franco Baresi involved in this conversation, because we were discussing about this earlier. So I was, when Bala was mentioning something about Colin Henry, how good he was, because in 1995, by English Premier League standard, Colin Henry was regarded one of the best centre back then. So I was thinking more like, so basically, he was like the Franco Baresi of English Premier League. But Bala, beg to differ. So Bala, actually, what you're about to say is that, what are you about to say then? If Franco Baresi is not, if Colin Henry is not the Franco Baresi of the English Premier League, so what is that? Should be the actual sentence for this?
I think basically Franco Baresi is Franco Baresi. But Colin Henry, I think I would say even better than Franco Baresi in terms of his determination and aggressiveness.
Wow.
No mercy.
Wow.
And don't forget, in 1998 World Cup opening game, when Ronaldo met Colin Henry, he never had an easy time.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, don't forget that. Yes.
Okay. Right. So basically, at the midway of the season, by January '95, Blackburn were in first place of 49 points, followed by United with 46 points. I mean, Elvin, even at this stage, were you still confident? I mean, what was your feeling like going into the new year?
Yeah, I mean, and definitely only halfway through the season, so it was full of optimism that the United will come back, and Fergie time goals and all that will happen. Being a
Oh,
United fan,
yeah.
we all used to all that. So of course, as a United fan, you hang in there right up to the last day of the season, which eventually did happen. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, in January, the British English Premier League was rocked by the signing of Andy Cole to Man United. If I'm not mistaken, at that point of time, it was a British record transfer, 7 million or 8 million pounds. I mean, 1995, bear in
Yeah,
mind, that
7
time 7
million.
million is a huge thing, it's a big money. So
Yeah.
how crucial it was to bring Andy Cole into the squad at that time.
Oh, Andy Cole was a beast. Andy Cole was definitely a machine. I mean, the previous season scoring 34 goals in the league and all that. This was definitely one guy that definitely Alex Ferguson wanted him on board. And of course, his impact was also great. By them also signing Andy Cole, we had to part ways with Keith Gillespie. In fact, I actually liked Keith Gillespie. I mean, he was
Yes.
like maybe a poor man's Ryan Giggs on the right hand side, Northern Irish guy, very hardworking.
Yes.
But and Keith Gillespie did go to Blackburn also, if I'm not mistaken, much later down his career as
Yes.
well,
Yes.
right?
He
Yep.
played Blackburn.
So
Yes.
yeah, so of course, in that Andy Cole transfer, Gillespie went to Newcastle and Andy Cole came over there. So Andy Cole did take a while to settle, but in the end, he finished the season with 12 goals. But out of the 12 goals, 5 of those came in a 9-0 win over Ipswich Town. A striker is still a striker. He still has got instincts in front of goal. I really only wish he did just put one more goal at the back of the net in the last day of the season. But anyway, we'll come back to that later. Okay.
Okay.
Elvin, I
Yeah.
just want to ask you a question. Just
Yeah.
thought about it. I think Sir Alex Ferguson was, a very big fan of Batistuta. If I'm not mistaken, right? What I think if Batistuta signing would have made a big, from my opinion, would make a big impact with what Andy Cole. But wouldn't think that maybe Batistuta present would have made more difference compared to this English hero.
Yeah, I mean, who would deny Butty goal? Like who would not consider Butty goal? Of course, Sir Alex Ferguson. Down the road, there was somehow, I think there was a few times of this Batistuta being linked to United coming into the picture as well, and much later down, of course, we all remember that Batistuta goal for Fiorentina against Mark Bosnich. So Alex Ferguson probably had an eye on Batistuta already, but Andy Cole was a proven guy in the previous. I mean, if a guy scores 34 goals in the previous season in the English Premier League, you can't close an eye on that. And even if you ask me now, right, 7 million I think is a bargain. And even at that time, it was big money, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the returns that I got back from Andy Cole, it's great. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, Andy Cole's arrival to Old Trafford was pretty much just in time, because in January itself, Blackburn Rovers came for the second meeting between these two clubs at that season. And as we all know, it's a very typical result. A typical result because in 1995, whenever MU win in a very crucial, important game, the one player that
What happens?
net is none other than
What happens, guys? 1-0 Cantona.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, in losing twice to Man United that season, did you kind of feel that at that point of time, like, Blackburn was slowly about to lose their grip on the league, in the league standing?
for me, when the game in Ewood Park, I think that shows a lot of character. I saw determination and a lot of will. But after that, to be frank, even when they lost 4-2, I had, I would say, kind of like a goosebump. This is the first can go through because it's still MU. And to be frank, when they met them in Old Trafford, I think the scoreline, I really expected that because Cantona, Alex Ferguson, the result's clear. It's clear cut. So I was just hoping that along the way they'll do something and they keep up the momentum to winning it. But to be frank, I had a dubious kind of suspect because anything can go wrong, especially with this MU fellas on form.
Okay.
It's all got wildly out of hand, and once more, Eric Cantona is the man at the centre of a dramatic controversy.
Okay, we're back now in our next segment. Now, as you all know, 1995, that English Premier League season was significant for not just about Blackburn Rovers becoming an English Premier League champion after so many years, but also it also had a dark spot in the sense of Eric Cantona's infamous Kung Fu kick incident. Of course, there's a lot of background behind it regarding of that fan because he threw a lot of racial abuse on the player. I think in particularly with Cantona's teammate Paul Ince. Now, Elvin, of course, as a United fan, whatever Cantona did you feel like it was justifiable, and how did it affect United's season going from then onwards?
Okay, so it is definitely unacceptable. Okay, what Cantona did was unacceptable. There was no professionalism at all. How much you can admire Eric Cantona also, that football doesn't need incidents like that to happen. Okay, you are a professional. You need to know how to control your temper. You need to know how to remain calm. When you play in a football game, especially in the typical English football stadium, imagine Sellers Park, right, Crystal Palace, how close the fans are to the field, and people are always going to throw comments at you and say stuff to you and all that. As a footballer, I think you should be able to take it all in and control yourself, and being reckless as the way he did definitely cost us the season. Because just imagine, we just signed Andy Cole, right, in that same month, in fact. Okay, and of course Alex Ferguson had plans to link up Cantona and Cole, to form a deadly partnership and all this, but it didn't materialize as what Alex Ferguson planned, and of course in a way it derailed our season as well. So a big impact.
Now, of course, moving on to the end of the season, with 5 games to go, United were trailing by 6 points against Blackburn Rovers. I mean, Elvin, as an MU fan at that time, I mean, what was going through? I mean, did you feel like at this point, it's like the league title is lost? Or I mean, what was your feeling at that time, actually?
Okay, my feeling was I still had this hope that they can still do it, because five games there are 15 points. Anything can happen, and even though 6 points may seem to be quite a substantial gap, because as the games get lesser, you have lesser chances to actually catch up with that gap. But Man United and any team for that matter who has that fighting chance and a mathematical chance to still do it, we hang in there, and we didn't throw. I mean, thank goodness they didn't throw in the towel. So they kept fighting. So as a fan also, we kept hoping that things would turn around. Yeah.
Of course, Bala, I mean, having mentioned earlier that Blackburn had a 6 points commanding lead against United. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure as any fan would be having this confident feeling like, they can keep it up, let's say for another 2-3 games, and the league title is wrapped. But what happened was they ended up losing 2 games in their next 4 fixture. What was going through your mind at that time?
It was scary, but I think it started after the Queen Park's game. After that, they met the Leeds United. That game, Blackburn were actually leading 1-0. And 90th minute, and guess who scored the goal for Blackburn was Colin Henry at 44th minute. But the game was equalized by Brian Dean in Ellen Road for Leeds United. And I think it started to get drowsy over that. Then the following game, they played in Ewood Park. So they met Manchester City this time. And once again, Blackburn took, like I would say, about 2-1 lead. Again, second half, they totally collapsed and they lost the game again in Ewood Park to Manchester City. So these two games, I think they already started shaking up. Of course, they bounced back against Crystal Palace, but they lost again to the West Ham game. Again, second half, they collapsed again. I think the pressure was building up. All his Fergie time, Fergie's mindset. Maybe Kenny Dalglish was having a winning spirit because I think he done that and seen that. But I would say the other Blackburn players wouldn't have done or anything yet. So I think would have been very tough for him to motivate. But as a fan, I think Weavers was having I think even some of them would have said that maybe, just maybe, MU would nick it at the end of the game, which I think they did. I think the Blackburn, the only game was in against Newcastle. I think Sharon scored in 28 minutes. After that, I think we don't say the Liverpool game what happened, but yet as a Blackburn fan, I think the last 6 games or 7 games was totally like a seesaw season. Actually, we don't know what to win it, but they want to win it. This was a winning it and a losing it, and it's just a kind of I would say a very emotional ride for any fans.
And of course, going into the last day of the season, Blackburn Rovers had a 2-point lead against MU. It's a very interesting scenario because when you look back, on one hand, you had Blackburn Rovers with Kenny Dalglish as their manager, going to Anfield, where he was King Kenny against a Liverpool side, who I'm very sure among Liverpool fans would have wanted Liverpool to lose that game to allow Blackburn to take the league title instead of Man U. I mean, it's a very interesting scenario happening on that day. If I remember, I was reading the newspaper, getting very excited, thinking like, wow, Blackburn Rovers, they're finally about to make history after so many years. But in your case, Abala, I mean, what was going through your head at that time? I mean, did you feel like, did you feel like this is it? I mean, Liverpool should do Blackburn a favor and should get it. I mean, this should all help you in your favor?
Yes, a lot of favor came to me, to the team, especially the Blackburn Rovers. I think basically they're playing Liverpool, hated rival for Manchester United. So a lot of positive things and a lot of favorism, I say, especially Kenny Dalglish and other favorite cops for Liverpool fans. But again, it's still there is because knowing Liverpool is a professional game, they will make a comeback. They will fight for the points. Even though I think Liverpool have nothing much to play for. In fact, everything to lose for. So I thought maybe Liverpool would be half-hearted playingly, but Blackburn should rise to the occasion. But I think they failed.
Of course, Elwin, I mean, what are you thinking as a United fan? Going in, having this scenario to overcome and at the same time with a 2-point gap and going to West Ham as well.
I would summarize as they blew it. They completely blew the golden opportunity that they had, right? He could have, if only they took their chances against West Ham. In fact, that West Ham game, Ludek Miklosko, the Czech goalkeeper for West Ham, I don't know whether this guy could be supporting either 3 teams, okay? He could be a Blackburn fan, okay? He could be a Liverpool fan, because probably he hates Man United, or he could be a Manchester City fan. Whatever it is, okay, this guy and everything against, he just went completely against Man United. United were just pounding this fellow's left, right, center. The fellow was just flying everywhere, saving everything. Of course, Andy Cole missed the number of sitters as well, right? Sitters in front of goal, which he didn't take. But if you look at those highlights, basically the Man United players were camping inside the West Ham plus penalty box, bodies flying everywhere, but the goalkeeper was just on top of his game, man. So the person that made the difference in that game is Ludek Miklosko. Yeah, to me. So that was a disaster for a Man United fan. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're mentioning Andy Cole missing a lot of chances, I mean, would you consider him as the bad mole for MU that season?
No, you can't. I mean, you can't put all the blame on him, because in the end, he still had half a season. He still contributed 12 goals in that season. I only wish he had 13 goals, and that would have been the title, right? That extra, just that one more goal that he would have put in. But he did his best, and if only he took his chances. But of course, what is done, and that's how it ended. Yeah.
For me, I think my opinion, I think Andy Cole is not the mule. I think it's Eric Cantona. I think if he wasn't suspended for the game, I think he was given a kind of edge to at least MU to do something or at least try something. But I think to put a solely blame on Andy Cole is not fair. So what actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely Andy Cole, no, is not to be blamed for that. Eric Cantona, yeah, to a certain extent is responsible as well, as I mentioned earlier. Since that Kung Fu Kick incident, he let the team down basically. Yeah.
I think what MU lacking was that time, I think, leadership. I think with our King Cantona kind of charismatic, I think he would have made a lot of difference. As always, knowing King Cantona.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, we can all. I mean, at the end of the day, as far as Cantona is concerned, he came back from his suspension, came back strongly. In fact, the following season. I mean, we don't have to mention what he did for United that year. I suppose all is forgiven. But Bala, in your case right now, of course, when the scoreline was still 1-1, it was still Blackburn Rovers title. But then suddenly out of nowhere, Jamie Redknapp scores a last-minute goal winner. What was your feeling at that time? I mean, what was going through your mind at that time? Have you lost it already?
Just like, here we go again. Oh my God! I thought at least Blackburn would have scored. At least would came at 90th minute. Because one thing I hate about the last-minute goal is, if possible, they should ban last-minute goal. You know why? It makes you numb. It makes you helpless because you can't do anything about it. And knowing MU still in the hand is.
In fact, I still remember the clip of Kenny Dalglish. I think he went. I mean, I don't know. I think you surely remember. He went furious after that. He was like,
yeah. He thought
these
guys just. Yeah. He thought these guys just screwed it up, man. Like, oh no, they came so close, and this can't be happening, right? That's what I'm sure he thought. Yeah.
But
yes. For me.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah. For me, after the last-minute goal by Jamie Redknapp, the first thing struck my mind was a Leeds game. But that game, this first was actually leading 1-0, and if only the game was finished, it wouldn't need the scoreline to actually to be safe, or even to save a title. So, like, a lot of regrets and a lot of shit. And seriously, I thought this is it because MU, you see. And how can they lose? I would say at least they would beat, West Ham, because West Ham still a West Ham, and MU still a MU. But, well, history has another way.
Well, in the end of the day, destiny had its calling for Blackburn Rovers, because even by the time when Jamie Redknapp scored that goal, apparently the game in Upton Park has already ended, which mathematically speaking, it was Blackburn Rovers title on that day. Historically, I think it was the first league title since 1914. I mean, it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
And I think, at the end of the day, everything that Jack Walker, let's money aside, his body, mind, and soul, everything he put for the club has finally been accomplished. So, wow. I mean, I can understand what a Blackburn Rovers fan must have felt like that day. I mean, sure, you want to share a little bit? Like, I mean, did you cry or something?
I was just overjoyed with what happened, and I just was stunned because I seen the jersey, black and blue, similar like Argentina, but of course the other more bigger patch is finally carrying the English Premiership. It was just remarkable with the same Tim Sherwood carrying the cup high above his head and celebrating with his fans. It's still like yesterday. Seems like yesterday. It's very unique experience, I would say. And for Jack Walker, I think I feel like that. For him, from a club he supported as a boy, I think what he did was, I think knowing Blackburn Rovers is more of an industrial kind of city where people are middle class and lower. I think the money he earned, he gave back to the community. He gave back to the community. He gave them business. He gave them jobs, and most importantly, he gave them a joy, which I think even until now, Blackburn Rovers fans, no matter where they are, they still talk about it on the era of Jack Walker. So yeah, it was a marvelous experience. And even beating Alex Ferguson was no match for Blackburn that season.
Wow. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give that to you, Bala. I'll give that to you.
Okay.
Congratulations,
Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Whatever you say. Yeah. You're still waiting for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
As you can see, everyone, we're having a little bit of banter going on here between Man U and Blackburn Rovers. Well, that pretty much wraps up the English Premier League season. Blackburn Rovers winning the Premier League title, and we will move on to our next segment.
They were promoted. They've got better and better, and now the league table says Blackburn are the best. They've taken the FA Carling Premiership crown from Manchester United after one heck of a struggle. In the end, by one solitary point. And they brought back memories of long, long ago. The last time Blackburn Rovers stamped their name on the silverware that goes to the England champion was back in 1914. And Jack Walker's tears tell you how much it means.
So there you have it, Blackburn Rovers, Premier League champions of 1995. But, I mean, that season wasn't over yet. Especially for Man United, they still had one more thing to salvage from what could turn out to be a very disappointing season. I mean, bear in mind, MU won the first two Premier League, won the double, in 94. Of course, as we talked about, we asked Elwin earlier, going into 95, he had a lot of confidence about the club can go on to achieve more things. But it seems like there's only one thing left, and that was the FA Cup against Everton. And if I can remember, in a league fixture that happened sometime earlier that year, Duncan Ferguson scoring a winning goal for Everton. One very crucial, important goal for Everton side that was struggling, that was facing relegation. But this is the FA Cup. So Elwin, we're all said and done. Do you feel like this is the only trophy that United could win this season?
Yeah, of course. When we went into the final, United, were the favourites and all that. But overall, I think the morale was low. The way these guys they lost the Premier League title and going into the FA Cup final 1 week later, morale was low. But I would have to say this again, just like what happened in the West Ham game, they came up with another monster goalkeeper performance. This time by Neville Southall. Okay, this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Neville Southall was another one that was basically flying there. I don't know what's it with MU and facing these last two goalkeepers in that season. You see, so kudos to Neville Southall. A great performance by him. Everton caught out MU on the counter attack. Paul Rideout scored the winning goal, and so great for Everton that they won the FA Cup and all that. But for MU fan, it is definitely one very forgettable season. I'll put it this way.
Yeah. Even for me personally, I have to say that that time. Of course, I was part of the anti-Man United brigade, because they were too successful, too strong, and seeing them going trophyless without a season, I was thinking like, well, okay, this could be the end of the road for Sir Alex Ferguson time with that era with United. But of course, we were all naive in 95. It was turned out to be one.
But you must also understand one thing. United also had a disastrous Champions League campaign. You see.
Okay.
So even that Champions League campaign was also disastrous. The first lost to IFK Gothenburg. I would rest my case.
Okay. But it wasn't really a bad IFK Gothenburg.
No offense to IFK Gothenburg fans out there, man. It was just a very forgettable season for United, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Bala, of course, with the Premier League title wrapped up, what was your expectation of the future for Blackburn, considering that, now they're going to go compete in the Champions League, they're going to, I don't think Blackburn Rovers fans in their wildest dream thought that Ewood Park could one day be hosting big European nights and all that. What was your expectation going forward for Blackburn?
For me, I just thought this would be the start of something new, a new journey. But I think they'll be competing with MU season in, season out, year in, year out. And of course, I was very looking forward to their Champions League, their debut. I think that time only winners can qualify for Champions League. I think that year they have Juventus, Dortmund, Real Madrid, Ajax. And it was actually a strong squad. Ajax was the defending champion that year. So I was at least expecting a kind of like they're meeting one of the big giants, and it's back to this thing. And maybe even our Franco Baresi of Blackburn Rovers would meet Rangers. It's a lot of this kind of things, and but turn the other way around. I think Blackburn Rovers had a disastrous Champions League. And I think it's the beginning of the end, actually, because I think they made a mistake. Basically, they couldn't sustain it, the success, because success comes with a price. Because it's easier to win, but it's even harder to defend, and the continuity, like what Sir Alison did, is even harder. If you look at it in our era, I think MU is one of the teams which was building up with a lot of things prior to Arsene Wenger came in the Arsenal. So yeah, I was disappointed, but well, that's life, edit. But that season, I remember watching. I started going through with Juventus team, because I started looking more to Champions League, to be frank. And I would say that's one of the reasons why I like Juventus after that. So as comparison, I like English team and also Italian team. So that was another beginning journey of with the Juventus. So that was the first year I started supporting them as a fan. But yeah, I think Blackburn at least should have made it to quarterfinal, at least because they had Sparta Moscow, Legia Warsaw, and Rosenborg. So Elvin, don't complain to me about IFA Gothenburg. This was the bottom of the club for info.
Okay, all right. So I mean, of course, let's to wrap it up. I'm going to ask both of you guys this question. When Leicester City won the Premier League title in 2016, there was some bit of a comparison to what Blackburn achieved in 1995. I personally don't think it should be compared, because in terms of fairy tale, I think Leicester's success is more of a fairy tale. Because in Blackburn's case, you can see the momentum they were building up throughout the Jack Walker years, that they were becoming a serious contender. They brought in Kenny Dalglish, they signed players, your Shearer, your Lasso, Stuart Ripley's and all that. They were proving to be a team that was aiming to contend for the Premier League title. And of course, the season before that, they finished second, 8 points behind. So in my opinion, when Blackburn Rovers did it in 95, it was just a step up. Not in Leicester case, because in Leicester, if I'm not mistaken, in the 2015 season, they barely escaped the relegation, thanks to Esteban Cambiaso. Super performance. And then the following year, they won the Premier League with players that virtually were unknown the season before that. Nobody knew who Kante was. Vardy was, not that well known. Nobody knew anything about that Leicester team.
Yes.
Even Wes Morgan, for that matter. So, I mean, how would you guys compare? I mean, is it fair to compare or not?
In my opinion, I think it's wrong, because I think, like what you say, Steven, Leicester's success was totally different, because I think Blackburn, there's expectation, there is a history, like what you say, they went second, and there's a contender kind of team. But Leicester City, I think, like what you say, Angola, Kante, James Vardy, like the Jamie Vardy, who ever thought about that, such a name? But I would say not only them, any leagues for Manchester, I think Leicester's success is unprecedented. Because it was totally unknown players with the tinkering coach Claudio Ranieri. I think he's the only one who proven that. Besides that, I think others are up and coming. So for me, Leicester's success, even though as a Blackburn fan, I would say Leicester City had an awesome season.
What about you, Alvin?
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about fairy tales, magical, just name it, Leicester has it. You just need to look at the odds. I think their odds are 1,000 to 1 to if I wasn't mistaken, to win the league at the start of the season. Blackburn's odds, I think, were much better compared to when the season started, of course, because they had previously a much better season, a much stronger squad, and of course, not to forget Riyad Mahrez as well, right? So these guys, Leicester, when they went to Manchester City and defeated Manchester City 3-1. So Leicester, I mean, there are really no words you can explain this Leicester season. Actually, and whether we will see something like this happening again, I don't know. I don't think so. I honestly, I really don't know what Claudio Ranieri did or rallied these troops, right? And the results that they produce and the way these guys won the league is just amazing. And yeah, you mentioned that, right? Captain Morgan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, also don't always remember that when Blackburn was competing, that only they had MU was who actually MU and Blackburn was actually competing for title. But that season, Leicester, I think we have Manchester United, we have Liverpool, we have
Man
Chelsea,
City.
Man City with all the monies, players, budgets.
Yep.
It's totally like what Alvin says, just maybe once in a lifetime, maybe once in 2-3 lifetime, I think. Especially in this era, I think it's impossible. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So indeed, we should give our heads out to the late owner as well, of what he has done and transformed the club, the Thai gentleman.
Yep. Okay, now, so with that said and done, we will wrap up our latest episode on the Bola Bola Show podcast. I mean, it's been a challenging time for all of us here because we all are staying at home and all that, working from home. We're unable to go out and meet friends and all that. So, thank God for technology, we are able to, get together and do this podcast. Of course, for me, on behalf of everybody, the Bola Bola Show, we would also like to give our gratitude to all the frontliners out there. Just thank you so much for everything you guys are doing, to help to beat this virus. I mean, I'm sure, if we all pull our strings together, we can do it. So, guys, any last words?
Yeah, so thank as what Steven mentioned, thank all those guys who are helping out, contributing, frontliners, the doctors, nurses, guys on the street, the postman, the rubbish collector, just name it, whoever that's actually out there doing an essential service for their nation, for the public. A great and a big thank you from all of us, right? And if you're a Blackburn Rovers fan out there and you're listening to this, thank you indeed.
All right.
And we hope that you enjoyed this podcast as well, guys. Yeah.
Bala?
Yes, for me, I think once again, like what you guys have said, thanks for the frontliners, everyone who's contributing in this battle against COVID-19. I think it'll be challenging years, maybe 1-2 years time. Hopefully, there's a vaccine to make things at least back to normal a bit. But like what you said, I think we are together in this. Please stay home. Most importantly, stay safe. Don't go out when necessary, even when things are better, because this shows that how fragile our life is. Enjoy every moment. Enjoy with your family. Like even as a Blackburn fan, it took 25 years. 25 years since they last won a title, but now currently Blackburn in the championship. So what I'm trying to say is that moment comes, enjoy every single moment, because you don't know when you might actually enjoy the next. So to our Blackburn fans, thank you, Shire team. We did it. Hopefully see you again. Have a good time, and God bless all of us.
All right. And of course, we'd like to thank all our listeners out there. Thank you so much for listening to us. And with that said, guys, what do we have to say now?
1, 2,
One,
3.
two,
Majulah
three.
bola seluruh negara.
Okay, bye.